Hey everyone, I hope you're all doing really well. Today I'm going to be sharing with you my second update for my Pan Those Eyeshadows project pan. This is an eyeshadow-centric project pan with the goal of hitting pan on as many eyeshadows as I possibly can. This is a project pan that was conceptualized by my friend Alexi. Of course, I will have her information all linked down in the description box of this video, as I always do. But I love this project because it really helps me feel inspired by my own makeup collection. And honestly, I get even more inspired when I watch other people panning their eyeshadows, and everybody does this project in their own way, and I just absolutely love it for that. This past month, I did make some pretty decent progress, which I'm really looking forward to sharing with you, but I do want to preface that by saying that I haven't taken that many pictures, and my usage numbers are not that high. Mostly because I was finishing up school, which I'm done now, which is amazing. I'm ready to refocus and get back into project panning and filming and all these fun things. But last week I had 2 weeks ago, I had an allergic reaction or some sort of like rash from something. I have no idea what was the cause. So I wasn't wearing makeup for a few days at that point. And then I went on steroids, it went away. And then it came back. And so actually yesterday was the first day after 8 days that I had put makeup on my face, and I'm feeling so good to be back in the groove. Yeah, my life was just all over the place. Like I had no idea what was going on. My identity felt like it completely changed because I wasn't wearing makeup and I wasn't studying at that time. I was getting back into the groove of working full time. It was just a whole ordeal. So I'm ready to refocus and get back into actually focusing in on my project pans again. And yeah, the rambles are here as per almost always. I do apologize for that, but why don't we just get on into the update so I can ramble through some of the progress that I've made over the past month. So here's the color story that I was working with over the past month. 4 of these shades I have had in since the introduction of this project, and one of them I did roll in my last update. And the first one here has been in since the introduction. All top 4 here have been in since the introduction of this project. So the first one here is a beautiful like taupey, purpley, putty, kind of cement gray kind of color. It is a really beautiful cool toned matte from the ABH Subculture palette, which is this limited edition palette here. I've had this palette for freaking forever, so I was really excited to roll it into this project and to get some use out of it through this project pan. And that shade is called Mercury, and I reached for it 9 times over the past month. Actually, I lied. I actually have it on today, and so that was actually 10 times, but it took me 9 times in order to do this, in order to hit pan on it. So it took me 9 uses in addition to what I had done in the past in this project pan. So I used it a total of 21 times until I hit pan on it. And then today I opted to just put it through the very tail of my brow, like right from the arch just to the tail, to give that a little bit more structure, a little bit more definition, but to still look pretty soft. I just felt like when I had only brow gel in, it was looking a little less defined than I prefer. So I put it through the tail, and I've been really enjoying using this mostly in that way. However, over the past month when I reached for it those 9 times, more often it was through my brows, but I did wear it on my eyes a handful of times as well. And personally, I choose to not mark those as 2 different uses, even though I think a lot of people probably would. I just tend to say, if it's on my face, it counts as 1 use. So 9 times is probably actually pretty close to the amount of times I've actually worn makeup in the past month. So that's a pretty good indicator that I reached for this every single time. Really happy to see another pan in this palette. This palette is looking so loved and so well used. I'm thankful for that because it is starting to get old, and I'm really inspired by this color story. So as much as I'm happy to have hit pan on it, I am kind of a little bit sad that I'm going to be rolling it out of this project. Really happy to see another pan in that for sure. And then the next shadow is this one right here. I think on camera it tends to really look just like an icy white pink kind of color, but it actually is this beautiful like lilac, pinky, periwinkle blue, pastel, shifty dimensional color. It is truly a very transformative color, and it comes from my Nabla Soul Blooming palette, which unfortunately is a discontinued palette. This palette is so beautiful, and I was raving about it in my last update of this project because I have been reaching for it. And unfortunately, I came to realize that I think it is discontinued. I don't think it's available anymore, which I'm so shocked by because it's just such a beautiful, beautiful, like neutral meets bright springy colors kind of palette. I adore it. And I'm so sorry if you have been craving this palette and you can't get your hands on it. I do apologize, but that's not to say that I don't think that this palette is dupable. I actually think that you can find these sorts of shades in other palettes. I'm sure of it. I probably have all of these colors elsewhere in my collection already. But let's rein it in. Let's get back to the eyeshadow that I've been focusing on. So it's called Garden Gate, and this shadow is just so beautiful, as I said. And I did actually hit pan on it this past month. I only reached for it 3 additional times since my last update, bringing me to a total of 10 uses, which is not that many uses to be able to hit pan on it, but I did wear it as a nail polish previously in my last update. I didn't wear it this past month, but in the first month of this project, I wore it as a nail polish once, and that uses a lot of product. And then I find with this shade, I like to really layer it. So I will go in sometimes with like it just dry on my lids, and then I will amp it up by putting a glitter glue down and then adding it on top of that. And I just find that it really, really helps make this super, super impactful. And yeah, 10 uses. I got a decent sized pan happening in there, and I'm really happy with that. And by the way, I will link in the description box and in the end card how to use eyeshadow as nail polish, because I always get asked that in these updates, and it is so freaking easy. I promise you, it is so easy. All right, the next shade. I have some shame about this. So this shade right here is a beautiful like burnt red kind of shade. Like it has this slightest bit of brown to it, like not quite a terracotta shade, not quite a brick red, but not quite a true red either. It's kind of right in the middle of those things. It is so beautiful, but as you can see, my color story is so disjointed that I've just not focused my efforts on this shade at all. I've kind of been moving between all the rest of the colors instead. So yeah, I am just gonna warn you, it doesn't look that different because I've only reached for it 3 times. And I forgot to tell you, it is a depotted Colourpop shade. I think I forgot to say. This is called Spoiled, and it's from the Yes Please palette by Colourpop, but I just depotted all of my Colourpop palettes into here. I just find that this is so much more inspiring and so much more exciting for me to have them in this way and in this format. It is this shade right here. I used it 3 times this past month and 3 times previously, so at least we're consistent, but only 6 uses so far through this project. Not great. These pans, although they are small in like circumference, they are quite deep and very, very densely packed. So it's gonna take me a long time to hit pan on this. I have to amp up my use. There's no way that 3 uses every single month is ever gonna get me to pan. So I'm definitely gonna start having to incorporate it in many more looks in the coming months. And this is a really good reminder. Updates really, really are a great way to just check in and ensure you're actually using everything. I really like to be more like evenly distributed with my usage on all of my shadows, and I do think in part because I just didn't wear that much makeup over the past month, that's why, but I'm just not super feeling this shade at the moment, but I'm gonna remedy that for sure. This shade right here is a gorgeous gunmetal metallic deep gray shade, and when I first rolled it into this project, I was a little bit hesitant, a little bit skeptical. I really didn't know if I was gonna enjoy it or want to get use out of it. But I don't know what it is about this shade in particular, or just being like this springtime that's been very gloomy, but I've been really enjoying it and really embracing this shade quite a lot. It comes from the sleek Eye Divine Perfect Storm palette. No, Eye Divine Storm palette. I always want to call it Perfect Storm because I think the first shade that I focused on from this palette was called Perfect Storm, but no, this is the Storm palette, and then I think pretty much all of the shades have the word storm in them. And the shade that I've been working on from it is called Gathering Storm. It's this one right here. I don't think you can tell from back there, but maybe you can. I hit a little pan in there, and today I hit that pan. So that's why we're chatting today, because I got so excited when I hit pan on it finally because I did not think this was going to happen for me for this update. So I'm wearing it as kind of like a smoky liner sort of situation on the outer corners as well as on my lower lash line today. And today was my 8th use over this past month, bringing me to a total of, I believe, 13 uses. Let me double check that. Yeah, a total of 13 uses through this project. 3 of those times were as a nail polish. I will say that. So that uses, again, quite a lot of product. But it looks so beautiful, very elegant yet punky kind of look on the nails. I really enjoyed it. I love dark nails, and this just was so beautiful in my opinion as a nail polish, but gorgeous as an eyeshadow as well. I really, really enjoyed it. I will, of course, be reaching into this palette more often, hopefully through this project, but just in general, I really want to reach for this palette more because you can see the rest of these shades don't look all that loved. But this is a pretty little palette. I actually have come to really enjoy it so much more than I had ever expected. And yeah, it was a lot of fun to reach for, a lot of fun to try out that gray shade in a variety of different ways, like including this look. I've never done something like this before today, and it was just because I'm focusing on that shade. So it's been a lot of fun for me to integrate that color into my looks and into my routine. And the last shade is this gorgeous, it's like a bold neutral kind of color. It's like a greenish, golden, bronzy, dimensional kind of color. I absolutely adore it. And I think I really like lust after this palette, and that's probably why I just love this color in general, is because I'm just so inspired by the palette that it comes from. This is the Melt Cosmetics Smoke Sessions palette. I don't know what it is about this palette because I know some people have not had the best experience with this palette, but there's something in my heart that my heart flutters when I see this palette. I love it so, so much. It inspires me and it excites me so much in a way that I don't really have with some other palettes in my collection. It's just so special to me. So I'm so excited to have it in this project, and I've just been really enjoying reaching into this palette. I've actually used this palette quite a lot in many looks, but I haven't really used the specific shade that I'm focusing on all that much, if I'm honest. I've actually only used it 4 times over the past month. And you know what? That's pretty good considering how out of place it is from the rest of the color story. But with 4 uses, you would not expect any major disruptance on this shade. And there's a tiny little bit of a dip starting to form, but nothing too notable. It's going to take me quite some time to actually be able to use this to the point where I hit pan on it, but I'm okay with that. Did I even tell you this shade is called Granddaddy? Probably not. I'm all over the freaking place today, but gorgeous shade, really beautiful palette, and yes, I'm nowhere near pan at the moment, but I know I will be able to hit pan on this in due time, and I will love every single freaking moment of reaching for this palette, so I'm okay with that. I'm totally cool with that. So yeah, I did actually end up hitting pan on 3 of my 5 focus shadows, which I'm shocked by, which is just like a freaking miracle, but it's because I already had decent progress on them prior to this past month. So I'm really happy to say that I'm gonna be rolling in 3 new shadows. I can't wait because this color story, I don't know, it's not doing anything for me. So I'm really excited to actually kind of almost like start over and see something new happen with this color story and be re-inspired. And I feel like I've said inspired 1,000 freaking times in this video, but that's what this project does for me. So I have actually 303 eyeshadows in my collection that are eligible for this project. Those are 303 shadows that I'm either not working on or they don't have pan in them. And that's a lot of eyeshadows. So we got to start getting that pan number down for sure, or pan number up. Whatever, let's do it. Let's roll 3 new numbers. So the first one's gonna be 138. Next we have 38, weird. And then 296. I'm gonna go grab those palettes and I'll be right back. So I just went and grabbed the palettes that those eyeshadows correspond to in my spreadsheet. And actually the first one, well, the second one that I rolled comes from my Subculture palette. So I'm really excited that I'm gonna be continuing to reach for this eyeshadow palette. It is the shade Untamed. I actually haven't looked in any of these palettes, so I don't really know what I'm getting into, but I feel like it's gonna be a pretty good color story. We'll see. But the shade Untamed is, oh, yes, I'm stoked. It is this gorgeous green shade. This is kind of like a sagey green. It is a matte color. Most of this palette is matte. And yes, oh my God, this is gonna be so pretty with that gold. Yes, it is so beautiful. And it doesn't look that well used, but it's because it's such a freaking pigmented color. So I have a feeling this is gonna take me a while, but if you know me, you know I love greens, so I am not upset by this at all. I'm actually so unbelievably excited that I'm gonna be playing with this green. I mean, look, I'm surrounded by green. I love green. And it's even more exciting that I'm gonna be reaching for this palette even more. I adore this palette. And yeah, I'm really excited about that. So the next shade is one from the palette that's currently in my Shop My Stash. And yes, I know I need to do my Shop My Stash for May. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. It'll probably be like a mid-month thing if I'm honest, but it comes from the e.l.f. and Jkissa To The Rescue palette. It's so funny. I tend to pull something into my Shop My Stash and then I end up rolling it into my Pan Those Eyeshadows shortly thereafter. I don't know what it is. It's like a premonition or something. But the shade that I pulled from this is called Millie. Again, I haven't looked into it. I don't know what it is. Oh, you know what? I'm pretty hyped about that. I'm pretty excited. Millie is this gorgeous true orange shade right here. It's a matte true orange. Most of this palette is matte as well, but it's more of a vibrant kind of orange. Unfortunately, this isn't a favorite palette of mine. I wouldn't say that this formula is, you know, that exciting to me or anything. It does leave a little bit to be desired, but it is a fun palette and I do think that it's, like, it does perform decently well. It just isn't an absolute true favorite of mine. So you can see there's Millie right there. I think that's gonna be amazing with these shades. Okay, I'm feeling it. I am feeling so much better about this project now. So Millie is that shade right there. Not a lot of disruptance in there whatsoever. I've not yet hit pan on any of these shades, so I'm not entirely sure how long it will take me. However, I do think that this is the kind of color I'm gonna have to build up quite a bit. It took a couple swatches in order to get that pigmentation, and that still is quite sheer. So it is something that when I reach for it, I will be getting pretty decent usage out of it, I think. Who knows? We shall see. But I'm pretty excited. And then the final shade is close to the end of my spreadsheet, so I knew it was going to be from my Urban Decay Born to Run palette. She loves this project pan. This palette freaking loves being in this project pan, and it makes sense. There's quite a few eyeshadows in this, so it's entirely possible I could roll it in over some of my smaller palettes from my collection, but this hasn't been in for a while, so I am actually really excited to be bringing it back to the forefront, back to my priority. So the shade that I rolled from this is called Ignite, which I think is, the coppery kind of color. You know what? This is good. This is good. Okay. Yes, it's that gorgeous, like, kind of copper bronze metallic. I do have a little bit of a dip in here because whenever I reach into this palette, this is one of the shades that really draws my eye and makes me really excited. And this is the kind of shade that honestly, whenever I don't know what to do with my makeup, I tend to go for like a bronzy, warm, kind of smoky eye, just because that I find is very flattering on me and it's kind of my fail-proof kind of look, I guess. And it's gonna look really good with that red. It's gonna look great with that orange. This is good. I am so happy with this new color story. This feels like spring meets summer meets grungy to me. This feels like me. These are my kind of tones. And now this red doesn't feel so out of place. I feel like this is going to be very successful for me. And as I said, there is a little bit of a dip happening in here. I have some pretty good pans in this palette, and I know it does take me quite a while when it comes to the metallics. So I don't imagine I'll be able to hit pan on it for my next update. I don't even know that I'll be able to hit pan on any of these for my next update, but I'm gonna enjoy using all of these shades for sure, and I cannot wait to see what I create over the coming month. But that is gonna be everything for today's update. I am thrilled. I'm feeling so good. I hope that you enjoyed seeing my progress and seeing all my new roll-ins. Thank you so much for watching and for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye everyone. One.